It's Powerback time on the Gutsy podcast, your 20-minute boost to reclaim and refocus your energy. Get ready to have bursts of clarity, a boost of confidence, and the practical steps you need to make gutsy moves forward. You've got big things to do, so let's get your power back. Growth doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing the right things long enough to actually let them work. You gotta stop reworking your entire business because you didn't get the response that you wanted 3 days after launching something with one post. Meaningful, sustainable growth, it demands your patience. I know, it sucks. But you gotta give the thing that you've built time to grow roots that will hold and sustain your growth. But in those moments of doubt and confusion and in the silence, your impatient ass wants to flip over the whole table before it's even had time to take root. In today's Powerback episode, we're not talking about starting, we're talking about continuing. The space where most people back out because it's not moving at the speed in which they think it should. If you've built something pretty incredible and you're waiting for the floodgates to open, this episode is for you. Subscribe to the Gutsy podcast and listen to Powerback episode 562. First things first, I just want to acknowledge that this space sucks. I mean, there's no fluff about it. There's no like, oh, but see the brighter color. Okay, listen, it just sucks. Yes, we can learn things. Yes, we are growing. Yes, there's always a lesson in things. But can we just acknowledge that when you have put a lot of time, money, energy, and effort into something that then gets met with silence, that doesn't feel good. It sucks. And so if you're listening to this and that's the space that you're in, I just want to acknowledge, like, it's okay to feel crappy about it for a minute. Like, it is the reality. The shift starts to happen, though, is when you don't stay in that space, where we're not moping around. We're not saying nobody wants this, or I suck, or everything that I've built is stupid. And which is where I'm going with this today, this is also not the time to get reactive and start tinkering and adjusting and fixing and adding things on and shifting prices around and like getting into this very, very, very reactive zone where it's like, oh, well, people aren't grabbing onto this because I've done something wrong, because it's not good enough, or it's too expensive, or I need to add more things in so that the program or the system or whatever it is that you've created has more to offer to justify the price. Because that's where we get way, way off the path. I want to remind you here that this thing that you've worked on, that you've launched, that you've put out into the world, that you're impatiently sitting and twiddling your thumbs, waiting for somebody to come buy it or step into it or say yes to it, this is not new to you. Chances are you have been thinking about this thing, working on it, building it, creating it, writing about it, forming it for months, probably, maybe even years. So this thing is not new to you. It's existed in your world. It's like fully formed in your brain and in your body. But when you put it out into the world, especially if you've not talked about it or shared it or gotten feedback yet, when you put it out into the world, everyone's learning about it for the very first time. They've not yet had time to acclimate to it, to understand it, to see what it is that you've created and what you are offering. They're going through their own process to evaluate what they need. Are they seeing themselves in your content? Do they really, in a very simplistic way, understand what this thing is yet? At bare minimum, people need to see and understand things 7 times before they're going to take an action. And the way that things have shifted with quick information and how many options people have, it's more like 18 to 20 times. So think about this. If you've launched a new program or system or tool or whatever it is that you're putting out into this world, okay? And through your business, you've put this out there. If you've made one post about it this week, and it's been 3 weeks since you've talked about it, no one remembers that you posted. If you sent out one newsletter last week and haven't talked about it since then, they're skipping over it. And that does not mean that they don't want it. It just means that they haven't had time to understand it. At the same time, if you're blasting it down people's faces 30 times a day for 6 weeks in a row, people are going to unsubscribe. They're going to walk away because it feels forced. It feels reactive. It feels like, look at me, see me, buy me. I have to have you in here. So a big part of this is in your ability to continue, to not do more things, but to continue to do the right things long enough to let them stick. Now, you might be asking, okay, Laura, what are the right things? To which I would answer, I think that's different for everybody. I don't think that there's a perfect playbook that tells you how to get guaranteed success with everything that you put out there every single time. Like, there's just so many different variables. But I think a few markers that we can all relate to are things like, am I talking about this on a regular basis? Am I putting in time and energy towards this thing? Meaning it's not just a set it and forget it. Am I actually working the system? Sending emails, having conversations, getting on discovery calls, sending pitch emails, creating content, getting to know my target audience even more. Am I inviting people into this? Like, a big part of this is selling it. We have to talk about it. We have to invite people in. We have to let them know that there is something to purchase here. We think that people know the next step to take when in reality, they need to be guided. They don't know what your process is. They don't know what the easy next step is. And if you're not talking about what that easy next step is, they're probably not taking it. These are some of what I might consider the right things to do. But again, you have to find what works for you. If it's email that you're all in on, do the email. If you're fantastic at creating content or videos, let's do more of that. The goal here is consistency, showing up, talking about it, inviting people in on a regular basis. This is where we're holding. And this is the uncomfortable part. This is where most people bounce because they can't sit in the quiet, in the silence, in that waiting period when you know you've created something fantastic, but people are not yet like throwing down to get in the door. The floodgates have not yet opened. And I also want to kind of normalize something here. You see a lot of that online, like, oh, I opened this and, within 12 hours, I sold X amount of dollars. Is that possible? Yes. Is that the norm? No. A lot of times your truly sustainable programs or offers or business plan, it's a slow build. It's like things start to move. You start to get some traction. You gain some feedback. One person comes in, which leads to another next person, which then all of a sudden now there's 3 more people, right? Like more often than not, it's this slow build. And again, this space requires you to stay focused, to stay grounded, and to trust yourself. It's in this holding period where I find that there's 4 kind of main things that you can sink your teeth into. Okay, so this is a good grab a notebook if you can. When you're in that holding pattern, when you're gaining some slow traction, when it feels like you're crawling, when you want to be running, I want you to really hone in on these couple of things. First, leave it alone. Stop tinkering it. Sometimes when we're in this holding space, when it's quiet, way more quiet than you want it to be, it's easy to go to, there's something wrong with it. I need to fix it. I need to change the content. I need to change the headline. I need to add more deliverables, right? You're trying to justify the worth, the price that you're charging. Leaving the price alone. If it's $8,000 one day and it's $4,000 the next day, and then it's $6,000 next week, oh, listen, you've got people all over the map. This quiet period is not for changing everything all the time. Adjusting, refining, that's different. We're going to get to that one. That's the 4th one. What I'm referencing is when you're completely redoing everything before it's had time to even give you feedback. Before people have really had a chance to understand what this thing is, how it benefits them, and if it's the right thing for them. If you're constantly changing the content on your website and you've got somebody that's on the fence and they keep coming back because they're kind of half in, half out, but every other day or every other week, the content is changing, they're not going to have a chance to really truly understand and get to know what this thing is. Don't assume that the silence means that it's broken. It might simply mean that people are learning. Okay. The second thing is you got to talk about it more than the one post that you put up, more than the one email that you sent out, more than the one Instagram story that you put up 3 weeks ago. Look, I'm not trying to bust your ass here, but I'm also being realistic. Like, when is the last time that you actively promoted what it is that you are selling? When is the last time that you talked about the new business that you launched? You and I both know social media is like the Wild West anymore. You can put a post up and nobody sees it. You could put a post up and it goes in front of 10,000 people. How that happens, when it happens, I mean, there's so many different pieces that go into this algorithm formula that sometimes it truly feels like a hit or miss. You just never really know. And if you've put up just a few pieces of content or even one singular piece of content, I'm here to let you know, people probably just didn't see it. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. Doesn't mean that it's a shitty thing. Doesn't mean that your business isn't working. It just means we got to work it. Strength is built in repetition and in consistency. And the same goes for talking about this thing that you've put into the world. So what do you need to say about it? Do you need to carve out time to write content? Do you need to build in time for you to record videos? Where are you resisting talking about this thing? And if you want to go a little layer deeper, why? Why are you resisting it? What is the fear that's driving that? What is the insecurity or the doubt or, whatever, what is feeding this thing? If you get to know what that is, you can see how it's showing up, and then you can consciously choose what you want to do instead. The third thing is, and this is really underrated, okay? For me, this might be one of the most important parts of all this, is gathering information. Instead of assuming that this thing isn't working, what if you went into this like Inspector fucking Gadget, ready and prepared to gather information, gather data, going into like conversations and looking at your posts and seeing how people are talking about it. And when you're having conversations, what are they reacting like? Notice when you put up a post, which ones get the most engagement? Where are people talking more about it? What is sparking a conversation? If you're hopping on calls with people, what are the things that you keep seeing? What are the phrases you keep hearing? I love going into detective mode. When you have conversations with people, you gather so much information that ChatGPT can't even touch. So go into this feeling like, okay, I'm going to find this out. I'm going to see what's resonating, what's sparking conversations, where people are clicking on things, which posts get shared more often. I'm not saying that you need to become an analytics expert. I most certainly am not. But the more conversations that I've had with people, the more I can hear and see the through line. When you're talking about this thing, where do you get tripped up? Where do you find you want to talk more about something or less about something else, right? Like, just go into this with so much curiosity, because then you can use that data, that actual information, to do the last thing, which is to refine. Not flip the table over, not burn it all down, not shut things off and never look at it again, but to refine. And a big portion of this is trusting yourself. I will always remind you to trust yourself. And if you know, like in your gut, you know that there's something to this. You know that this is the right avenue for your business. You know that this is the right market that you want to be in. This is the right target audience. This is the right offer for the right person. You just got to be willing to hold in the period before it takes off. And when you have that data, then you can make intentional refinements. So we're not redoing everything. We're refining things. I actually literally just did this with my speaker page on my own website. So LauraAura.com/speaking in case you want to go creep on it. I've been pitching to speak for well over a year now. I've been applying to events. I've been doing outreach. I've been connecting with people. I've been having conversations. And I started to really notice what caught traction and what didn't, what felt like me, what didn't, what was landing in talks versus what wasn't. And I took all of that as information, not as right or wrong, but as data. And one day I was like, okay, something's not catching traction yet. Okay, I'm booking some things here and there. Things are starting to kind of move, but gosh, I know that I could be further along than where I am right now. So what's going on? It doesn't mean that I'm a bad speaker. It doesn't mean that nobody wants to hire me. It just means that maybe there's something off that I can refine to change the energy around this. So I went to my speaker page and I looked at it, and in an instant, I was like, well, here's the fucking problem. I wrote this content when I went through a program that I was following like a very specific map. Fantastic program. Zero issues with that. The challenge came, I forgot to really infuse myself in there. I saw what was working for others and I mimicked the process. And it's not that that process doesn't work. It's just that there was a whole chunk of me that was missing. I put this unintentional filter on my voice so that corporations would hire me to speak at their events. I made things sound more polished and put together. It was like, I think there was still a part of me that was kind of trying to prove my ability to do this. And after working it for a while, again, this space where like people are not beating down the doors yet. Some doors have opened, but like there's no floodgates yet. In that space, I'm gathering that information. I'm noticing how I feel. I'm noticing what gets response. I'm just gathering all this stuff. And when I went to the page, I'm like, I need me in this. People need to see and feel my energy. Because guess what? That's who you're going to get when I come speak at your event. That's who's going to show up at your corporation to speak to your team. And I know historically, when I just be who I am, I attract the right people and opportunities. So instead of burning down the whole page, I refined it. I took the messaging and I flipped it. I infused my personality in there. I said the things that I actually wanted to say without the filter on it. And now when I look at it, I read it, you can feel the LauraAura energy vibrating off of it. 3 weeks after I finished that, I got an inbound inquiry for someone asking me to come speak at their event. Coincidence? Perhaps. But you know what? I believe in the bigger energy. I believe in the bigger magic. And I know that when you hold in the space and you intentionally refine as you go, you stay in your own power. This is a power move because I know this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. That center is not off. I'm not wobbly on that. My only job is to hold in this space, to keep showing up, to leave things alone, to talk about it more often, to take the lid off, gather that information, and make micro refinements as I go. When you start doing this, things start moving because now you're in the energy of possibility. You're in the energy that like, I am intending on this to work, but I'm not reactive. I'm not flipping out. I'm not, like burning everything to the ground. You're just simply committing to the thing that you know you're meant to do. In this, it's going to give this thing that you've created time to grow roots that go deep into the ground that can hold your growth. Starting is one thing, but continuing is where your success story is made. Why do you think that most businesses don't make it past 2 years? It's a weird, lonely, quiet, very confusing fucking path to take. There's a lot of silence, let's be honest. And in that silence, the brain gets really noisy. I'll tell you, there's a few things that I'm like, I guarantee you this is not going to work. Not, period. Not going to work if you do any of these things. If you build something that feels too heavy to execute on, it's not going to work. If you're downplaying, filtering yourself, putting a lid on it, ignoring what you want, it's not going to work. If you have followed or replicated something that's working for someone else to a T, like completely left yourself out of it, only replicating what's working for somebody else, it's not going to work. And when I say it's not going to work, it doesn't mean that you won't have success. It just means it's not going to be the fulfilling success that you're looking for. It's going to come at a cost to you, whether that's with your time, your money, your energy, your resources. Doing any of those things is a guaranteed lesson in the making. How do you know if it's going to work? You flip all that shit on its head. Can I guarantee 100% that everything that you make is going to work? No, not everything that I make works either. But if you stay open to it, it will teach you something. It will provide information. It will shine a light on something that you needed to know. It'll give you the tools or the knowledge that you need to build the next thing that is the right thing. And if it feels fun and exciting to do, yeah, chances are higher. If you're showing up as yourself and doing the things that you truly want to do, the chances are even higher. And if you've found influence in the way that somebody else does it, but then you build it your own way, the chances get even higher. Remember, starting, it's one thing. That's a gutsy move in its own. But continuing, that is where your success story is made. Holding in the silence, making intentional moves to improve, reaching out, asking for help, finding community to have people to talk about this shit when it's happening, and believing and trusting yourself. Friend, business is weird. I've been doing it for 18, almost 19 years now. And my first favorite thing about working with women like you is when you choose to go for it. My second favorite thing about working with women like you is when it all starts fucking working. That's what we're doing inside the spaces that I have, whether it's the Gutsy Collective or Auraline the Mastermind, where you want to go all the freaking way in and do some one-on-one coaching together. I am here to help you make the bold moves that you can't stop thinking about. And sometimes that bold move is holding. If you want to explore what that might look like for you, let's do a clarity session. You, me, 30 minutes. We'll figure out what your right next step is. You can book that at LauraAura.com/clarity. You can also shoot me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. My handle is @thatLauraAura. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.